Hi Christian, thanks for having me here today. Super excited to be here at Kaumana Farms. Tell me a little bit about what you guys grow here.
Yeah, so here at Kahumana Organic Farms, we're a diversified agriculture farm. We grow a whole lot of different produce. We have about 7 to 8 primary crops, but in total, I would say about 20 different vegetables and fruits that we grow annually. Primarily, we grow a lot of our baby salad mix. We call our OKGs, that's organic keiki greens. It's a mix of 14 different baby greens blended
14.
Together. Oh yeah, it's always increasing. We're always adding 1 or 2 here, depending on what's available. We grow lots of carrots, that's another big crop. Leeks, fennel, Swiss chard, lots of Asian greens, bok choy, choy sum, pak choy. We grow quite a bit of herbs, mainly dill and cilantro. Kalo. We do have a lot of citrus trees in the ground also. We have about 200 citrus trees, 100 ulu trees, 50 avocado trees, and various ages.
Wow. Why do you think it's important for not just chefs and cooks, but for average everyday people to start eating more locally and eating local produce?
Yeah, so I think, the question of why do we buy local? I think that's a very important question in today's day and age. If you're buying local, that's keeping it within our economy. That's creating jobs here. That's creating jobs for the next generation. The flavor, buying local, the flavor is going to blow anything from the mainland out of the water.
I agree. Just when you take a bite of that first carrot you guys grew here, it changed my whole perspective on what a carrot could be. Sweet, earthy. You can almost taste the soil where it came from. I think if there's anyone that's watching this that hasn't had properly grown local produce before, it's life-changing, I think.
Absolutely.
More so than what any chef or recipe book can teach you. If you can embrace the flavor of the soil and the land, even it's so close and fresh, that's where it all begins, I think.
They always say that the quality of your food is the ingredients, right?
Absolutely.
From when you harvest a vegetable, it immediately starts losing its nutritional value. So the sooner you get that vegetable to your plate and into yourself, the better. So if you just can imagine, if you're harvesting it on the mainland, it has to go from the farm to the facility, to a boat or an airplane, then it has to get to Hawaii, then it has to go to another facility, be redistributed, and sometimes that produce, can be a week, 2 weeks, sometimes even longer. And the nutritional value of it is just gone. It's just, you're just eating substance, but no nutritional substance. And then on top of it, half the time, they're harvesting things before they're ripe, especially when it comes to fruit.
So they can survive the journey.
Exactly.
So I know a lot of the stuff that comes from the mainland, a lot of the produce we hear is not organic, but you say your farm is organic. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we are a certified organic farm, and there's several principles to organic farming that are key. One, we're not using synthetic fertilizers, so that's non-petroleum based. It's all naturally occurring, whether it's manures, made out of kelp, fish, things like that. Another one is that we're not using synthetic pesticides. We do use pesticides, but they are organic based. So, they're either plant based or biological. We're not using anything that's deadly to us as humans. Another important part about organic farming is that you implement crop rotation and have diversity. A lot of large-scale farms, they're doing monoculture. That's essentially growing 1 crop, maybe 2 at most. And what that does, it degrades your soil over time, because those plants are using the same nutrients all the time, but by having crop rotations and diversity, you're actually helping to build your soil back.
So Christian, yours and I's jobs or our roles kind of align, right? Because without you, I wouldn't have the things I need to make my guests happy. And without a steady supply of like-minded restaurants and chefs buying your stuff, then you guys would be growing for nobody, essentially. I think it's really important to understand that a role of a chef is not just to make food for people, it's to really nourish people, to make them healthy and to make them feel good. And a big part of that is making sure that the food we give them is clean, safe, delicious, and nutritionally sound. So if we can inspire anyone to find an interest in farming or come out and try it, or just to taste the produce or to watch the land and work with the land, then I think there's bright future for Hawaii and agriculture ahead of us.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it all comes down to relationships, right? It's like, how do we create the relationships with, you know, the chefs, with you? How do we create the relationship with our customers, whether it's at a farmer's market, through our CSA? And, you know, it's creating that, like, trust, right?
Yeah.
You know, people want to support a farm or people who are doing the right thing. And that's why I think, you know, the relationship side of, like, farming is so important. You know, like you said, you know, not having chefs like you and restaurants like Mad Bene who want to support local agriculture, there wouldn't create this environment for farms to emerge and grow. And here in Hawaii today, you know, I think the movement, the farm to table movement has been going for, I've been working here for 10 years and it's been going strong since then, and not in years before that, but like right now we're at such a pivotal point, you know, with COVID and everything. It sort of changed this perspective on what it means to buy local and, you know, the importance of that to empower that circular economy we spoke about. And, you know, once again, it all comes back to relationships. You know, it's like, how can you know, people want to be able to meet their farmer. They want to go out and check out the farm. They want to be able to, like, you know, meet their chef, to know where they're buying their produce from. And it just creates this beautiful dynamic, this organic dynamic that, you know, happens.
Sounds awesome, man. Let's go see what you got.
Absolutely, let's go check it out.
So we are back from Kahumana Organic Farm. We are now with Chef Robynne Mai'i of Fete Restaurant in downtown Honolulu. We brought back a couple things here. We have onions from the farm and OKGs, otherwise known as organic keiki greens.
Yes.
So a mix of baby greens from Kahumana. Chef, what are you preparing for us today?
So I'm going to start off with a very simple salad. I think people don't like salad, and kids in particular don't like veggies because parents insist on giving children unseasoned vegetables, which is crazy, right? Like, do you want to eat an unseasoned carrot? No way, right? Or like an unseasoned, or like greens that are not dressed, right?
No way.
Yeah, no way. So
how do we season a salad properly, Chef, to make it delicious?
Salt, actually. Yeah. So I think the misconception is that everyone's like, oh, I need to put a lot of dressing on to make it taste better, but really you want to use a light hand with the dressing and season as if you're seasoning anything else that you're eating.
So since they're called keiki greens, is it fair to say that you should treat them as gently as a keiki?
Yes, I think so. And you probably can get this. Can we name all the greens?
It's mustard frill, red amaranth, baby kale. Sorry, no.
Yes.
No, there's baby kale, baby red Russian kale.
Baby tatsoi.
Tatsoi.
Arugula.
Oh, there's arugula in there.
Mizuna. I think 2 different kind of mustards, and yeah, they're
the red amaranths are my favorite.
Yeah, right. These are actually quite hearty, so and very flavorful. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with a nice handful of the greens. These just came in this morning, so they're really
so
extra beautiful. And we're gonna take some. These tomatoes are actually from Sensei Farms, which is an aquaponic farm on Lanai. And this is our shade veg, which is a mixture of carrots, local radishes, and local fennel. So the carrots are nice and crunchy and familiar and sweet. The radishes are a little bit bitter and hot. and the fennel is kind of like refreshing and then sweet. So you have all these different textures. And we're gonna dress it with our Italian vinaigrette. So its base is sort of roasted garlic, lots of roasted garlic, and then there's lots of local rosemary and olive oil and chili flakes and rice wine vinegar, lemon, and we make an emulsion. Okay.
So you toss your salad with the dressing instead of pouring it on top, huh?
Right. And you see how like I just dribbled it really lightly.
So that means you need less dressing overall, but you get more flavor by mixing it all together.
Yes. And then seasoning. Yeah. And then when you toss it, like really sort of like a light hand. I mean, really, if you were at home, you would use two things and you sort of toss it like that. But being in the restaurant, it's a little bit like slow doing it that way.
But either at the restaurant or home, it's just important to be very gentle, right?
Yes. When we plate it, there's this compulsion to like want to touch the food a lot. And so we have to teach everyone to like just stop touching the food. Just let the food go in the bowl, go on the plate. And then that's it. Right? And at FET, we love to use as local as possible, but we also treat this like our house. And so like we love Parmesan Reggiano. We love Pecorino Romano. So we supplement with, of course, things that are not made here, right? And it's okay because we do such a good job with our local produce and our local proteins. So this is our like 1-to-1 mix of Parmesan Reggiano and Pecorino Romano. So a little bit of salty and a little bit of tangy. And then we also love herbs, fresh herbs, woody herbs. So we finish the salad with a little bit of fresh dill, which just gives it, again, sort of like that just lightens everything. And kind of like, it's just enough where you want to take that extra bite. Yeah. So that's the salad.
Yeah, that's a beautiful salad. So we talked with Christian earlier about why farming and using local ingredients is important to him. But as a chef now, why is it important to you? Is it just because it's for flavor purposes, or is there something else behind it?
I think it's multi-layered. It is definitely because it's fresher. It's easier on the environment because we're not flying things in. And also it's supporting local businesses, but they also taste better.
They
like
do.
we know, right? So
I think it's all the love they put into it, honestly.
yes. So
Nice.
yeah.
Thank you, Chef. Awesome
Thank you.
salad.
Yay.
I heard we have some fried onion rings coming up too. I'm excited for those.
Yes.
So, Chef, what are you gonna do with these onions? These beautiful onions.
Making everyone's favorite onion rings.
Ooh, onion
Right?
rings.
Onion rings.
Nice.
Yes.
Cool.
It's not the cook's favorite to make because it's pain in the butt, but that's okay.
But the things that are hardest to make taste the most delicious, right? That's what I think.
It takes up a lot of space in the fryer, and then it's like messy, right? Because you have the batter, and we do a la minute.
Ooh.
So
a la minute meaning you make each one like fresh
to order. Yes,
Wow.
yes. So the grill person has to get coordinated, get the gloves on, mix the thing, wait, and then we have to weigh everything out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Each
so,
time, every time.
Well, per batch of flour, for the mix, the dredge.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's in the mix?
Okay. So the other reason why, good question, what's in the mix? The other reason why everyone loves these onion rings is because they are gluten-free. So the base is rice flour, good amount of cornstarch, baking powder for leavener, and salt, and a little bit of sugar to kind of like round everything out.
What's a leavener, Chef?
Baking powder.
Oh, what is that?
What is it? Oh, it
What does
helps.
it do?
It helps everything. So it has part acid, part sodium bicarbonate, and it makes everything sort of like bubble and makes things fluffy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we are going to, so that's the mix, and then we are going to add sparkling water. So extra bubbles will react with the baking powder and to make it nice and fluffy.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But these onions are from Maui, and one of the reasons why we love Kakumata, in addition to them growing amazing produce, is that they act as a hub. So they aggregate other farmers' goods into one place, and so it's better for chefs to get our hands on more produce.
It's better for the smaller farmers too. They have more exposure.
Yes,
and an
more
opportunity to
exposure.
sell to more restaurants, right?
Yes, so from Kahumana, we get our slicing tomatoes and our onions from Maui. They bring it in for us, and then we also get our king oyster mushrooms from the Big Island.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna make a little ring here. Okay. And you know, everyone loves Maui onions because they're sweeter than sort of like a regular onion.
Could you eat it raw?
You could eat this raw. Yes. It would make really great like lomi lomi. Okay, so and you know how it is, right? Like when the first table of service orders onion rings, game over. That means onion rings. That means people see the onion rings go out, right? And so then everyone orders onion rings. So when that first ticket comes in, and the person that is on the station is like, okay.
Oh, they must look really impressive when they're done then.
They get big. So the style of food that we do at FET is we try to not muck it up. Not too many things on the plate, not too many competing flavors. So we cut the onions, and then the person who's prepping this has to sort of like, you know, can you imagine doing this like in the middle of service, right? Like you're trying to like separate them as all the tickets are coming in. So we have to sort of separate them ahead of time. And then they get portioned. So we make sure that everyone gets the same portion. See? And this is what makes it really challenging for the cooks every single day. Emily and I, Emily is our chef de cuisine. She's behind us. Hi, Em. Meow. Meow. Is that when they say they're bored or whatever, we're like, that's so crazy because every single day is different. The produce comes in. It's like Mother Nature is not like at our beck and call. We have to sort of adapt to what happens, right?
For sure.
Okay, so here are onion rings, and I'm gonna put on a glove, and we're gonna put the onion rings. The onion rings are a little bit moist because as soon as I start cutting them, we will open up that membrane. I'm gonna put them in some of the tempura mix just to get them lightly dredged, and then I'm gonna make, so this is 300 grams of the mix to 350 grams, can you please?
Yes.
350 grams of sparkling water. Thank you. And it's important that we weigh this part out, otherwise the consistency is too thin or too thick, and we want a consistent batter. Okay. So you can see the bubbling action. Okay. And because there's no gluten in here, it's really nice to, we can kind of just go crazy with the whisking, not developing anything.
If there was flour in there, we get all tough, right?
Yes, so we get all like lumpy and clumpy. So it's a really nice batter. Okay, and it does look like it's thin, but remember, we've put the onion rings in here, so they're coated. So now when we put them in here, it's gonna like coat really nicely. Okay. All right. So, but see, Chef Bao is like looking and he's like imagining in real time what it's like for the cooks to do this in real time when all his tickets are coming in. It's hard.
Yeah, I think I'll put onion rings on the menu for them now after seeing this.
Okay. But this batter is good for like, I don't know, maybe like 3 orders, 3 orders of rings. Okay. All right, so Now they're ready to go into the fryer. Okay?
Great.
Okay. Ready? Tran, we're gonna go over. Okay. So. Okay. Can you see, John? Okay. All right. So now we're just gonna basically put them in at one at a time or a couple at a time, so they're like nice.
If you put it all at once, they might stick together, right?
Yes, it's gonna be more like Outback Steakhouse. What is it called?
The bloomin' onion.
Blooming onion. Yeah. So this is our.
You can see them puffing up already. From,
Yes,
the
puffy.
mixture.
And we have the fryer at 350 degrees. And we use cottonseed oil here, which is almost twice the price as soybean oil, but it's much nicer tasting. Okay. And this doesn't take very long.
So when you're cooking for yourself or developing new recipes, you said earlier that you don't like to muck it up, meaning you don't like to put too many ingredients, right?
Right.
But I did notice that everything that you do takes a lot of calculated planning and time and technique. So I think it's a really good showcase too of like you can turn something really simple really deliciously by just treating it right?
Yes.
Being
So
very thoughtful with your food.
yes. So I would say that everything that is on the menu has its sort of base in something that's classic. You know, something that is tried and true, and really like the best foods are sort of things that have been stand the test of time, and there are sort of adhering principles, right? Like based on you know, like agrodolce, right? Sweet sour, right? So what we do is we have this really spend a lot of time thinking about those flavor profiles and then assessing what is available at the farms and like how we can make a swap. So like a good example is like we don't have kumquats in Hawaii, but we do have calamansi, and they are like almost sort of like exact same. They behave the same way, so we just sort of swap that in, right?
Nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna take these over here, and we like to pile them in our Italian bowl, and they are delicious by themselves, or people like to have it with ketchup.
They're lovely, chef. Wow. All
Yes.
that from just a few ingredients.
Yes, yes, very humble, very, but you know, again, it took a long time to like dial in sort of like the right ratios for the, yeah, so it's not, it's simple, but thoughtful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, chef, for showcasing all these local produce and showing us how to cook properly
Welcome.
with them. Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome. Locals, but I want to say something about local too. We want to support local as much as we can, but you also have to love it. So just because something is, we're not so principled where we're like, oh, we're only going to buy local. So we treat it like our house and we buy our favorite things. Yeah.
So, chef, if anyone watching this was interested in pursuing a culinary career, what advice would you give them, or what should their first step be?
I think their first step should be you have to ask yourself how you want to spend your time, right? Like being in culinary arts, being in this industry is very physical, which I love. Like I cannot sit still, so I love being on my feet. The other thing is I think it really requires an attention to detail. If you're the kind of person that likes to sort of like organize and sort of get sort of swept into the minutia of like, oh wow, what came in today? Like I want to look at like how things came in, and then you want to just be able to make something really delicious and helpful and memorable for someone. Then this is the career for you. that's why I feel like it's super exciting, because we don't know, like I tell the cooks every single day, I can promise you one thing, today is going to be different than yesterday.
For sure.
Yes.
Can
yes.
attest to that.
Yes. If they're actually really present and they're aware of what's happening, they're going to realize like, oh, wow, the onions look different today. They're like short and squatty versus like round and globe-like. Like, how is that different? Does it taste different? Does it smell different? Does it feel different? How am I going to adjust my day to what is happening what comes through the door? Yeah.
It is hard work, but you'll never be bored. That's for sure.
Never get bored.
What's the most rewarding part of being a chef for you?
I think for Emily and I think we're at this point in our career where we really want to mentor the next group of people, because we love cooking so much, and we've like learned so much over the years that we don't want to just like hoard that information and that knowledge. We want to be able to share it with everybody.
Awesome.
So then other people can like keep on going. Yeah.
Super cool. Well, thank you, Chef.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.